You run from pain, from loneliness, from discomfort. But Nietzsche once said, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." And maybe that's exactly what's killing you. Your refusal to be tested, your addiction to ease. You were taught to chase happiness, comfort, and security. But in that pursuit, you lost your edge. You forgot what it means to struggle, to suffer, to earn your strength. And now, you're soft. Not because life made you that way, but because you chose it. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the process. We live in a world where you can eat without moving, talk without speaking, escape reality with a single swipe. The modern human is overstimulated, overfed, and underdeveloped. And worse, we've made comfort a virtue and turned suffering into a flaw. But Nietzsche saw through it all. He saw the illusion. He warned us. He wrote about a society that was becoming weak. Not from war, not from poverty, but from the slow poison of moral cowardice. He called it the morality of the herd, a way of thinking that glorifies safety and demonizes struggle. And look around. The herd is alive and well. It's the voice that tells you, don't risk it. It's okay to quit. You deserve rest. You're enough, just as you are. But here's the truth. You're not. Not yet. Not if you're still running from pain, not if you're still addicted to comfort. Growth does not happen in pleasure. It happens in pressure. It happens in failure, rejection, loneliness, discipline. In all the places you avoid, Nietzsche didn't preach suffering for the sake of suffering. He wasn't some masochist. He simply understood a brutal truth. That pain is the furnace where the soul is tempered. And those who avoid it stay soft forever. He said, "Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster. And if you gaze long enough into the abyss will gaze back into you." What does that mean? It means you must enter the darkness. You must confront the chaos inside you, your fears, your past, your guilt, your laziness. But you cannot let it consume you. You must master it, dominate it, shape it into power. Pain is not what breaks you. Avoiding it is. Think about it. Every time you run from discomfort, you weaken your spirit. You build the habit of quitting. You train your mind to fear adversity. And one day, when real tragedy comes, you won't be ready, because you spent your whole life dodging the very thing that makes you strong. Your anxiety, that's unprocessed fear. Your depression, that's unresolved pain. Your anger, that's weakness in armor. You don't need more pleasure. You need more confrontation. You need to face the part of you that you've been hiding. The undisciplined part, the coward, the liar, the victim. Nietzsche believed that man's highest goal was to become what he called the Übermensch, the overman, a being who transcends his own limitations, who takes pain, tragedy, chaos, and turns it into greatness. But that path is not easy. It requires you to kill who you were, to outgrow your comfort, to become dangerous, but in control, powerful, but humble, alone, but never lonely. That's the paradox of strength. It's built in solitude, in silence, in the moments no one claps for you. When you show up anyway, when you train anyway, when you work, cry, bleed, and no one sees. And you do it because the pain is the teacher, because you know what the world won't tell you. That suffering is sacred. The ones who grow are the ones who walk through the fire willingly, not because they love pain, but because they love who they become on the other side. And you keep running. You numb it, you scroll past it, you medicate it, you joke about it. But it's still there, and every time you avoid it, it grows louder. Let me ask you something. Are you proud of who you are right now? Of what you've built? Of how you handle your weakness, your desires, your pain? Or are you pretending to be at peace when you're just distracted? Pretending to be healed when you're just numb? Pretending to be okay when you've never faced the real war inside you? The weak hate pain. The strong become it. Nietzsche once said, "Live dangerously." Not because recklessness is admirable, but because only those who flirt with discomfort ever evolve. To live safely is to live small. To live painlessly is to die slowly. To avoid discomfort is to reject transformation. And that's why you're still weak. Because deep down, you still think you can become strong without ever getting hurt. There is no strength without suffering. No depth without darkness, no wisdom without wounds. And if you look closely at the people you admire, the ones who seem unbreakable, unshakable, untouchable, they all have one thing in common. They've bled for it. They didn't just wake up powerful, they were beaten, broken, doubted, betrayed. They were pushed into chaos, and they built something there. That's what Nietzsche meant by amor fati. Love your fate, not just accept it, love it, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Can you do that? Can you love your pain? Can you stand inside your storm and say, good, let it come, I need this? Because that's where your power is, not in comfort, not in avoiding the blow, but in standing tall after it lands. You think you need more motivation, more hacks, more advice, but what you really need is to stop running, to stop acting like suffering is optional, because it isn't. You don't get to choose whether life breaks you. You only get to choose what you do with the pieces, and most people, they just tape themselves back together and pretend nothing happened. But that's not healing, that's hiding. Nietzsche said, one must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. You think chaos is something to avoid, but it's in your chaos that your real self is buried. The part of you that's ruthless, fearless, unapologetic. The part of you that remembers who the hell you are. But first, you have to stop pretending to be fragile. Stop worshiping your wounds. Stop posting your sadness for sympathy. Stop using your trauma as a personality. Your pain is not your identity. It's your training ground. It's the forge, and you are the sword. But you've let yourself rust. You think you're too broken to be strong? No. You're too protected. No sword was ever sharpened with silk. It was ground against stone. Over and over, painfully, precisely, and so must you be. But here's the problem. The world doesn't want you sharp. It wants you dull, obedient, predictable, weak, because the sharp cannot be controlled. And Nietzsche knew that. That's why he was hated, feared, misunderstood. He didn't preach comfort. He preached becoming. He told men, you are not finished. You are not complete, you are not safe, until you've mastered your suffering. And this mastery does not come in books. It comes in battle. It comes when you stop blaming your past, when you stop envying the strong, when you stop hoping life gets easier, and start praying that you get tougher. That's the shift. Most people live as if strength is something you wait for. But it's not. It's something you build. With every cold morning, you wake up anyway. With every rejection, you endure without flinching. With every heartbreak, you survive without turning bitter. That's strength. That's Nietzschean strength. Not muscle, not ego, but will. The will to become something greater, something deeper, something unbreakable. But that takes sacrifice. It takes letting go of the version of you that's addicted to being liked. That wants approval, praise, softness. Kill that version. Burn it, and from the ashes build something raw, something real, something terrifying. Because when you finally stop hiding from pain, you become it. You absorb it. You rise above it. And then you are free. Not because the world got easier, but because you got harder. And when you walk like that, when you move through life like a blade instead of a beggar, people notice. Not because you're loud, but because you're real. You carry weight, you carry scars. And still you walk forward. That's power, not the fake confidence of someone who's never been hit, but the quiet conviction of someone who's been destroyed and came back sharper. Nietzsche didn't believe in victims. He believed in rising. He saw the world descending into comfort worship, into moral weakness, into softness masquerading as kindness. And he said, this is decay. Because when a man forgets how to suffer, he forgets how to live. Pain is part of life. And if you run from it, you're not living. You're just existing, floating, reacting, waiting. But you weren't born to float. You were born to climb, to fight, to create. And creation requires destruction. You must destroy who you were. You must suffer the death of your old self. And that hurts. But it's holy. Because in that death, a better you is born. You think Nietzsche was harsh? Good? The truth is harsh, but it sets fire to your excuses. It reminds you that your tears don't make you special. Your actions do. So act. Step into the pain, into the silence, into the version of yourself you're afraid to meet. And when it hurts, smile, not because it feels good, but because it means you're finally on the path. The real one. The one few dare to walk. The one that makes you strong. Strength is not born in success. It's born in the quiet decision to keep going when everything tells you to stop. It's the lonely choice to face your demons instead of medicating them. It's choosing responsibility over resentment. Courage over comfort. Becoming over blaming. But look around. Most people are allergic to responsibility. They'd rather collapse than confront. Rather numb than grow. They spend their lives avoiding pain, then wonder why they're always suffering. Nietzsche saw this. He saw a culture obsessed with ease, with equality that flattens excellence, with morality that glorifies weakness. He called it the morality of the slave, a mindset that turns pain into oppression, struggle into injustice, and strength into something to resent. But resentment is poison. It turns men into victims, and victims into cowards. You can't build a future with that mindset. You can only rot in place. That's why Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." The why is purpose. The how is pain. If your life lacks meaning, then every inconvenience feels unbearable. But if your life has a direction, every wound becomes a lesson. Every failure becomes fuel. So what is your why? Is it to impress, to be loved, to be safe? That's not purpose, that's ego. And ego crumbles under pressure. But if your why is something deeper, to grow, to transcend, to overcome everything that once broke you, then your pain becomes pre-rid. It becomes part of the process. The most dangerous man isn't the one who never falls. It's the one who keeps rising, because he no longer fears the fall. He uses it. He expects it. And that's when you become dangerous, not when you're perfect, but when you're unshakable. When life hits and you don't break, you build. That's the man Nietzsche wanted to awaken. The Übermensch, not a superhero, but a self-overcoming man. One who says, "I will no longer live according to someone else's values. I will no longer be ruled by guilt, shame, or fear. I will create my own path, through the fire if I must." You see? You don't have to be fearless. You just have to stop bowing to your fears. Stop letting them choose for you. Stop letting them shrink your life. Your fear of discomfort is not protecting you. It's imprisoning you. So what would happen if you stopped flinching? If you let the pain teach you instead of break you? If you let rejection refine you instead of define you? If you saw every setback not as a sign to quit, but as a test you were born to pass because that's how you grow. Not in theory, but in fire. Not in wishes, but in will. And maybe you've never truly suffered. Not because life didn't hurt, but because you didn't let it shape you. You escaped too soon. You medicated too quickly. You blamed too often. And now you wonder why you feel lost. You're not lost. You're just empty. Because every time life handed you pain, you gave it away to excuses, to distractions, to anyone but yourself. But pain is not a punishment. It's a mirror. It shows you what you're made of. And right now, you don't like what you see. So change it. Not with affirmations, not with platitudes, but with action. Stop scrolling. Stop comparing. Stop crying for a softness that will never make you strong. Choose the harder path, the one that burns, Because fire does not only destroy, it purifies, and you need to burn. To become the man you were meant to be. Not the one the world applauds, but the one who can walk through hell and come back carrying light. Not for validation, but because that's what real men do. They suffer, they rise, they lead. So what will you do? Stay here, wounded, soft, forgotten, or rise, sharp, focused, unbreakable? That choice is yours, and it always has been. You think the pain is the problem? It's not. The real problem is your refusal to face it, to wrestle with it, to learn from it. Pain is feedback, not failure. It tells you where to look, what to fix, who you are, but you keep dodging it, hoping life will go easy on you. Hoping the world will adjust to your softness. It won't. The world rewards those who sharpen themselves against its blade, those who rise from their own ruins, those who stop asking for comfort and start building strength. You were not made to be safe. You were made to be strong, to endure, to suffer well. Nietzsche didn't write for the faint of heart. He wrote for the few who would dare to rise above their own excuses, the few who would ask, "What must I become to be worthy of my suffering?" Because your suffering is sacred, if you choose to make it so. You can let it rot you, or you can let it forge you. You can use it to justify your weakness or to ignite your greatness. But you have to decide. No one's coming to save you. Not your parents, not your friends, not your therapist, not your government, not your God. That's the brutal beauty of Nietzsche's truth. There is no savior, only you, only your will. That's why he said, "Become who you are." It sounds simple, but it's the hardest thing in the world, because it requires death. The death of your illusions, your excuses, your fake identities. You must kill the version of yourself who avoids pain at all costs. You must bury the man who just wants to be liked, who wants applause instead of purpose, who wants relief instead of rebirth, because that man will never be free. And you were born for freedom, but freedom demands pain. It demands accountability. It demands that you look your suffering in the eye and say, "I choose you. I will not run. I will not numb. I will not beg for pity. I will use you." Only then can you rise, not as a victim, but as a creator, a destroyer of lies, a rebuilder of soul. That is what Nietzsche meant by the Übermensch. Not a man above others, but a man above himself, above his instincts, above his comforts, above his fears. He is not perfect, but he is sovereign. He is not always happy, but he is deeply alive because he has made peace with pain. He no longer flees it, he uses it. And that is your invitation to stop running, to stop hiding, to stop explaining your weakness as if it were virtue. Weakness is not a virtue. It's beginning, but it is not the end. You can start there, but you cannot stay there. You must evolve, grow teeth, grow courage, grow spine, because life is not kind to the fragile. It crushes them, swallows them, then forgets them. But the strong, they are remembered. Not because they had easy lives, but because they suffered with purpose. They bled with meaning. They turned every wound into wisdom, and now it's your turn. You can stay afraid, begging life to go easy on you, or you can say, "Let it come. Let the pain come. I will not bow, I will rise." That's not motivation, that's transformation. And it begins now. You want strength? Then stop avoiding what makes you strong. You want peace? Then stop expecting it without a war. You want meaning? Then give your suffering a purpose. This world is not built for the soft-hearted. Not anymore. And Nietzsche knew that. He watched as society traded depth for distraction, truth for comfort, suffering for sedation. And he warned us, a man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them. So ask yourself, what passions are you avoiding? What demons are you pretending not to see? What parts of you have you locked away because you're afraid they'll burn you alive? Don't you understand? They will, but only so something stronger can be born. That's how the fire works. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't apologize. It simply reveals. It shows you who you really are when everything you hide behind is stripped away. The masks, the titles, the fake confidence gone, and there you are, naked, wounded, real. That's the man the fire wants, because that's the only place you can begin again. From truth, from nothing. And that's terrifying, but it's also freedom, because once you've burned, once you've stood in the flames and lived, there's nothing left to fear. People can judge you. You've already judged yourself. Life can crush you. You've already rebuilt yourself. The world can abandon you, but you've already stood alone in the dark and didn't flinch. That's where real power comes from. Not from being untouched, but from being unbroken. And Nietzsche knew this kind of strength is rare because it requires a full confrontation with the self. It requires a man to stop blaming the world for his weakness and start becoming dangerous enough to change it. So what's holding you back? Pain. You'll feel it either way. Fear? It'll find you, whether you hide or not. Doubt? It never leaves. You just stop listening. The only difference is whether you let those things rule you or refine you. And that choice? It's made in every moment. Every time you get hurt. Every time you fail. Every time you want to quit. That's the moment you decide who you are. Are you the man who crumbles? Or the man who carves strength from the wreckage? Because those are the only two options. There is no neutral life. There is no middle ground. You either rise or rot. And if you're tired of rotting, then it's time to rise. Time to become the kind of man who doesn't need approval, who doesn't flinch when life hits, who doesn't apologize for wanting to be more than what this world expects of him. It's time to become what Nietzsche called the lightning bolt from the dark cloud of man. Unexpected, untamed, unbreakable. The lightning bolt does not ask permission to strike. It does not soften its blow. It does not apologize for its power. It cuts through the sky with a fierce intent, a force that transforms everything it touches. You can be that force. But to do so, you must first accept the storm within. The chaos, the pain, the doubts. You must stop fearing the darkness. Because the lightning only exists because of it. There is no light without shadow. No strength without struggle. No becoming without breaking. This is the truth Nietzsche lived by, and the truth you must live by too. Stop running from pain. Stop chasing comfort. Stop begging for mercy. Face the fire. Stand in the storm. And let yourself be forged. It will be hard. It will hurt. You will want to give up. But in those moments, remember this. You are not weak because you feel pain. You are weak because you refuse to use it. You are not broken because you have fallen. You are broken because you refuse to rise, so rise. Rise again and again. Until the pain is no longer a chain, but a weapon. Until your wounds are not scars of defeat but medals of survival. Until your past does not define you but empowers you. That is Nietzsche's call to you. To stop being a victim, to become a warrior, to embrace suffering as the crucible of greatness. You have the power. You have the choice. Now it's time to stop hiding. Time to stop running. Time to stop fearing. It's time to become the man you were always meant to be. Strong, unshakable, free.